We got the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in 5 years. This time around, it went straight to Netflix. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, and yes, you do have to specify the year it came out because majority of these movies are just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise for me has been the prime example of a horror franchise that literally should have been a one and done, and that's it. I feel like this franchise, even if you look at them all, it doesn't lend itself to multiple sequels, multiple continuations of the story. It doesn't lend itself to that. It lended itself to being a one and done, a big movie that was just like a what the fuck happened here type movie. It didn't lend itself to continuous sequels. Another example of that is The Strangers. The Strangers did get a sequel, which I do enjoy, but I think The Strangers is another example of a movie that should have been one and done, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre should have been one done too. Now, bear in mind, I am not really a big fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I've seen all nine, and I think out of all nine, there's probably four of them I actually enjoy, and the original one isn't even one of them. My top four is the remake from 2003, Texas Chainsaw 3D. I know a lot of people don't like that one. I actually really enjoy that one. I also enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and then the beginning from the prequel to the 2003 remake. But the franchise as a whole, it's continuously remakes and prequels, and it's just completely like, if you look at it, they're all pretty much reboots. Even the second one to the original movie doesn't feel like an actual continuation of the first movie. And then they said with this one, they're going to go back, they're going to retcon everything, and this is going to be a direct sequel to the first movie. I heard that, I wasn't too excited, mostly because Texas Chainsaw 3D had already done that, and that wasn't even that long ago. I would have preferred if this was an actual sequel to the remake, which is actually my favourite. Well, remake, sorry, I gotta specify with that. The remake from 2003. That's my favourite of the entire franchise, and I would have preferred if that was a direct continuation from that movie. Even the look of Leatherface in this movie looks more like that version than the original one from 1973 or whatever it was year it was from. This movie as a whole, when I heard about it, I could never get excited for it just because we are constantly getting remakes and sequels and prequels. It's always the same movie with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, so I didn't care about this one. But as I was watching it, when I heard the concept, when I heard they were bringing back the final girl from the first movie, the original movie, Sally, when I heard they were bringing her back, everyone knew, okay, they're just going to do Halloween 2018. And of course, that's what they did. They pretty much made Halloween 2018 with the original character of Sally. And I always thought, when I heard that news, I thought, why would you bring back Sally? Sally isn't even a great character. She's only the final girl because, well, she's the final girl. She's the only reason she is a memorable character is because she's the final girl in that franchise. Where if you look at Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween movies, she's a really great character. You really like the character of Laurie Strode. You wanted to see her survive, but the only reason the Sally character was the final girl is because everyone else just died around her. Everyone else did stupid things before that, where it's a group of 5 or whatever it was, and then she was just the final person. Same with the Friday the 13th, the first movie. You don't care about the first final girl in that movie. I can't even remember her name. She's just the final girl, and the same happened with Sally. So I always thought it was so weird that they brought Sally back and they were bringing it up as if, oh, they've had this big vengeance for 50 years. And not only that, I also thought it was so weird bringing her back when the original actress died like 7-8 years ago. I just thought it was a weird idea to have brought back Sally as a character. I just really don't understand the logic behind bringing that character back, besides the fact that they could market it as a direct continuation, bringing the original character back. I just thought all of that really, really weird. The setup though of the movie was one that I went in expecting not to really like, and I was actually kind of surprised by it. The setup is a bunch of influencers have bought a town where Leatherface is, and they're going to remake the town, bring it in, and they're going to welcome people in, make the town live and fresh again. When I heard that concept, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But I actually enjoyed it, and I found myself enjoying more of it until Leatherface showed up. I was enjoying it, seeing these people come into this old woman's house, the creepy atmosphere of the town, everything. I was enjoying that part. Bear in mind, I didn't like any of the characters, but I thought that was a good setting and setting the stage of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, because all these movies are the same. You just got to get the people where Leatherface is. You got to have somewhere. I thought this was an interesting way of setting it up. Then Leatherface shows up. His kills He doesn't have any great kills. Maybe the first kill, well, that was a pretty cool kill, but after that, none of them really lived up to the hype of the first kill. None of them were great. The practical effects weren't great. I don't think they were even practical. I'm pretty sure they were all CGI, and none of them were great. Like, you see a guy get his neck slit open, and it looks pretty bad. Majority of this movie doesn't look really that great. There's nothing about it that makes it stand out amongst the Texas Chainsaw franchise. Like, if you think of the remake, there's so much about that movie that you remember. You remember the uncle in the wheelchair. You remember the kids going off the car, and you remember a creepy cop who was actually, I can't remember the main character, the head of the family. I don't even think of Leatherface in that movie. I think of the rest of the family and how unsettling they are. And I always think it's weird that Leatherface, I get why Leatherface is the kind of main character of the first movie. I know why everyone remembers him, but I think it's such a weird idea that he's the character that they continued on with. Even this movie, it's just him. The Sawyer family, or whatever they were called in the original movie, aren't here. It's such a weird that it's just Leatherface. I would have preferred if it was the whole town. Even the way they set up the movie, you kind of assume it's going to be the town, but it doesn't be. It's just Leatherface, and I don't think Leatherface is able to carry the movie by himself. I don't think, even if you look at Michael Myers, you look at Jason Voorhees, even though they're voiceless, mindless zombies, you can tell that they're smart enough, where Leatherface has always been someone who isn't a smart character. Like, he's just a guy who just shows up, whacks you in the head, takes you away, and that's it. And I just don't think Leatherface is a really great horror icon. He's not one of my favorite horror icons. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre isn't even one of my favorite horror franchises. But I just think Leatherface as a character, I think his design's cool. I've got his NECA figure. It's probably my favorite NECA figure out of the horror ones. But I don't think Leatherface by himself is a good enough horror icon to carry a whole movie. I think he needs the family there. He needs the dynamic of the rest of the family who were helping him, who were also cannibals. I think it works better when you got a group of them rather than just one of them. And as I said, I wasn't really a big fan of the characters. I thought the characters, like, if you look at the 2003 movie, I keep going back to that, it's the best one in the franchise, but all of those characters I wanted to see survive. I wanted to see them all make it out of there. Here, I couldn't give a crap. There was one character in particular who, I'm blanking on her name at the moment. I think it was like Maul or something. The girl with the curly hair. I couldn't stand her character. I was really excited. I really wanted to see her die. I think her name was Melody. I think it was Melody. But I really wanted to see her die. She was such an irritating character. She was so up her own arse. She was such an asshole to everyone. And she was just... I just could not stand her character whatsoever, and I really wanted to see her die, and I was just waiting to see her die. And majority of her characters, like her sister around her or her friend group, all of them were just so irritating and so up their own ass that I wanted to see Leatherface kill them, mostly because I wanted to get to this movie as fast as I could, because I really did not care about this movie. There was nothing about this movie that makes it stand out amongst this franchise. It's just another Texas Chainsaw movie that we are inevitably going to get another one. It's going to be a remake. They're going to pretend like this one didn't happen. The next one will be marketed as the true sequel to the original movie, which I don't understand why they keep going back to the original movie, because it's not even that good of a horror movie. But anyways, this movie as a whole, it's just a forgettable Texas Chainsaw movie. It's not one I can't see myself revisiting it. It's down the bottom of the kind of ranking for me in terms of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. Like, I put it down there with Texas Chainsaw 3, which I think Texas Chainsaw 3 is probably the most forgettable out of all the movies, because it's literally just the same old thing. It does nothing new to introduce it. I feel like this one is just down there with it. It has one cool scene actually on the bus where someone holds a camera up to Leatherface and says, "You do anything and you're gonna get cancelled," and he turns the chainsaw and he just kills everyone. That's probably my favourite scene out of the entire movie. But other than that, it's just a very forgettable Texas Chainsaw movie that I feel like by the end of the year, when I'm looking at all the movies that came out, I'll be like, oh yeah, we had a new Texas Chainsaw movie this year, didn't we? And that's how this movie's going to be remembered, I imagine. I can't imagine... I really cannot see it get a continuation. I imagine even since it went directly to Netflix, I can... If it does really, really well for them, I can see it getting a continuation, but I'd expect more of another remake or reboot or whatever they want to call it. I can't see it being a direct continuation, because honestly, it's not the way this franchise works. It constantly remakes it, and who the hell knows what's going to happen next. But if you want to hear future horror content from me in the future, click the subscribe button. I don't know what the next big horror movie is out, but if you want to hear my future thoughts on it, click the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching.